Can you hear me?
Yes. So sorry about that. I'm such an idiot. What I did was I plugged the mic in the headphones part.
I can't even tell you how many times I've done that, like on sets with my lab mics, where I mix the receiver and the thing, and I'm like, why the hell is there no audio coming out of this? And because they look exactly the same, the receiver and the microphone look exactly the same, and so I'm plugging into the wrong ones. Happens.
I bet that's an issue, yeah. So first of all, thank you for joining. Appreciate it a lot. Appreciate your time. Just for the people that are listening, just explain who you are and what you do very briefly, and then we'll just go into it straight away.
Yeah, of course. So my name is Austen Paul, and I'm a filmmaker based out of San Francisco, California.
Nice. I need to visit there sometime. I just want to talk about, first of all, how it all started. How did you end up getting into filmmaking? And then, yeah, just explain that first of all.
Yeah. So, it's a long story. But so I've been doing what I consider filmmaking for the last 3 years now. Started about three and a half years, maybe. I've been saying 3 years for a while, so it might be 3.5. I don't. It might be. It might be 4 now. 2017. But it wasn't like the first time that I ever shot anything or was into filmmaking. I actually went to college and got a degree in communication design multimedia with an emphasis on film. And I didn't learn anything there. I think I touched a camera twice in my life. And even then, like for one of the projects where we were filming something, I never touched the camera once. I just came up with the idea.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know anything about filmmaking even then, but I've always wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And I've always loved it. I just didn't know that it was like a possibility at the time. You know, it was just kind of getting popular with filmmaking like that, because it was mostly just cat videos and such on YouTube, right? And so I graduated from college, and the first thing I did was go on to be a PA on a feature film. And I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be it. I'm gonna, like get to work on a feature film.
Yeah.
Hated it so much. I disliked it so much because, all I was doing is running errands for people, really. Yeah. I got to move up to being a production manager, and I got to understand a lot of that kind of stuff, but realized really quickly that this is not what I want to do on a film, because I could have just worked a 9-to-5 desk job if I wanted to, be a production manager for anything. Because even though that you're on a film set, you're not really doing anything film related, I guess you could say. Yeah. And I wanted to be on the creative side. And I realized I was like, well, no matter how good of a production manager I am, they're not going to let me get behind the camera, kind of thing. So from there, I decided not to do that anymore. And I sold all my stuff and bought my first camera. And I ran around for 3 months filming my hometown, trying to create like a travel-esque, like Sam Colder style video, because he just was getting really popular at that time. And so I was just filming. I'd wake up every sunrise, film every single sunrise I could, was flying a drone that my brother gave me, and made my first film. And that's kind of how it all started. And that, honestly, I didn't even know what ISO and aperture shutter was at all. I had it like on scenic mode.
Yeah.
Because I thought it looked good in the camera. I had no clue. I think for about a half a year later, I still didn't understand what ISO and aperture and shutter were. I was like, I just couldn't grasp it. I didn't understand the concept. It took me and now it's like the simplest thing ever that I can understand in my sleep, but I just couldn't grasp it for some reason. So
there's some stuff that I don't even understand, and I've been doing it for a while. I didn't even know you was doing it. Like, I didn't know you was that recent into this, like, because your work is outstanding. So I thought you was doing it for a few years, but 3.5 years, I've got to give you a round of applause for that, because that's...
Thank you, man. Well, I haven't stopped. Like, it's not like 3 years and I'm just creating here and there. Like, it's been like an everyday thing, even on my vacations, whatever vacations are, really. But it's been nonstop. I learned everything off of YouTube. And that's like my advice to anybody: don't go to film school. It is, there's benefits to it, but like, you can easily make it in this industry without doing any of that. Like, I went to college, but I don't think nobody's ever asked me for my degree for anything I've done. Nobody's gonna be like, hey, we'd like you to shoot a marketing video for our company. What's your degree like though? Nobody cares. They just want to see the work that I can produce.
Yeah.
And honestly, like I said, I learned nothing. Well, not nothing, but pretty much close to nothing about film in that degree, and learned everything on YouTube, just watching tutorials and tutorials. Yeah. And then just having the hands-on experience, because I mean, there's only so much of just doing the tutorials. You have to actually go do it too. Like you can watch tutorials for the rest of your life, but if you're not actually filming and getting that hands-on experience and just going out there with your camera, like you're not going to improve, so.
100%. And I think that's one thing film schools kind of lack. They give you all the knowledge, but they don't do enough practice for you to put that knowledge into practice. So it's kind of like, what's going on here? So I 100% vouch for that. Do you find it hard sometimes to switch off as a creative? Because, I mean, it's not a bad thing, I guess, because we all love what we do. I mean, it's just installed in us. But there's a point where you kind of do need to sit back, evaluate, to then progress. Do you ever struggle with that, or do you understand it?
Yeah. Of course. I mean, it happens all the time. I mean, it's easy to like look back at, the positives of this whole process and be like, oh yeah, it was all great, and like block out all the negative moments. But I mean, like anything, like I definitely get burnt out. Like I'll go. My girlfriend says I need to slow down because she's like, you're just going to get burnt out. And then I'll just have a day where I'll just like, doof, and everything, like I just shut off. I'm like, I don't want to work right now. Like I feel like literally like I just want to lay it on the floor and just not move at all, because my mind is always going, like it doesn't stop. When I actually made that film in my hometown, right, I had to stop filming. I had to finish it. I was like, I just got to finish this, because I was going insane. Because if I didn't have my camera on me and I was in my hometown, I'd be driving around and be like, oh shit, like that's like I could have got that right then and there. And so I was like, okay, I just need to finish this, because I'm gonna go insane if I don't get it done, because I'm just gonna be driving around all the time, always looking while I'm like, there's no rest then, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So after 3 months, I was like, nope, it's done. Just put it together, whatever it is, kind of thing. So.
Well, if anyone's wondering what the filmmaking life is like, that's it, perfectly explained.
Yeah, definitely.
So I really love your style. I think it's very different and unique. I feel like basically you're an innovator, and that's why I wanted to get you on this as well, because I know this industry is it's saturated. There's a lot of people in it. And it is hard to innovate, especially when there's so much talent about and everyone's kind of doing the same thing. So how do you end up finding your style? And I know it comes over time, but what's been your inspirations, and how have you implemented that into your own style and made your own unique?
Yeah, of course. So when I was first starting out, like I would follow all these famous filmmakers and stuff like that. All the guys like Matt Como, Taylor Cutt, Sam Gelder, like pretty much, like the main guys back in the day. I mean, still probably main guys. But I noticed after I started kind of getting and understanding camera techniques a little bit more and stuff like that, I noticed that everybody was doing that. Like everybody starting out was doing just what they're doing. And I remember somebody posting about something and being like, you can never be as good as the person that, like, if you're just copying it, you can only be as good as the person that you're copying. Like you can never be better. And I took that to heart, and I realized I stopped following everybody, kind of thing. And I was like, okay, I got the techniques. I mean, I still watch tutorials like on like certain things like tutorials, but like not watching people's videos as much to be like, oh, let me do that kind of thing. I was like, I got the techniques. I don't want to start taking any inspiration on accident from anybody else. And I just want to kind of let my mind do the talking for me, and just go with it. Just make your own thing. Make whatever like speaks true to you. And so I started doing that kind of thing. I kind of separated myself from watching everybody's videos and like regurgitating them over and over again, kind of thing. And I was like, well, I mean, we'll see if people like the style that I like, but like I enjoyed it. So like my whole, well, at least what everybody has their own impression of what they think their stuff is. And then like, I think mine is like a more of like a darker, mellow, I don't even know.
It's
But I mean,
definitely unique.
it's different than my product videos because all those are,
Yeah.
each one is different. It really just pertains to each product that I do. But like for my marketing videos, like I like to try to do like a more like moodier, like mellow thing. I'm not too crazy about tons of transitions. I mean, I know it works for some people and I can never master that. Like I've seen those guys like Ben TK, I think, and his stuff. And I'm like, holy Jesus, man, like, how do you even do that stuff? You know, there's definitely things I'm just in awe of what people do. And I'm sure like vice versa of like some product stuff that I do and stuff. But yeah, like I've always been like just simple transitions, let my shots speak for themselves kind of thing. Because I used to like throw zooms in, zoom transitions into everything. And now like looking back, I'm like, they don't have those in movies. And like, I want to be, you know, I was like, maybe I shouldn't be doing, you know, like all these fancy transitions. If that's not in a movie and those are the best of the best, like maybe I should be just doing beautiful shots kind of thing, you know, just by themselves kind of thing.
It's so interesting that you said you don't really follow, or well, you stopped following certain people and stopped following their work, because I literally have done the same thing. Before filmmaking, I was a dancer, so I didn't even know I wanted to do this. So coming into filmmaking, it was like a whole different scene, and then everyone's talking about, oh, these directors, this, that, and the other, and I'm like, who, what, when, why? And I was like, I just didn't, and I think that's benefited me in what I do as well, and creating my style, because I ain't tried to copy anyone. And I do, it's a very good point to kind of just shut off from looking at other people's work constantly and try to do something of your own thought and your own concept and your own style. And then just keep progressing on that, because I think that's the best way to kind of learn who you are as a creator. So yeah, 100%.
No, 100%. I mean, I do like, not saying I don't like see anybody's work ever. Obviously I'm on a lot of filmmaking pages and stuff now, but like I kind of like recently kind of let that back into my life in like the last like year kind of thing. So like I shut it off for like a whole year to really find myself kind of and like go on my own journey kind of thing. So yeah.
And it's completely fine looking over people's work, but like you said, don't copy it like thing for thing. I think take concepts from it and say, that was nice, but how can I put my little twist and style onto it? I think that's the art of filmmaking. Switching onto the commercial videos, this is the exciting part. Is this something you've been doing for a while? Because I saw you through Daniel Schiffer when he did his Cheerios, and it got you to talk about the popcorn little thing that he did, where the popcorns are popping out the bag. So I've followed you ever since then. Is that something you've been doing for a while, and is that a place that you want to go down, commercials?
Well, I've been doing like marketing videos for a while. So the way that I supplemented a lot of my income is, as any freelancer, is pretty much anything and everything, right? Weddings, I do a lot of weddings, and I get, so I make a lot of income from that, but I also do marketing videos. Yeah. And I kind of want to start diverging away from weddings and stuff like that, because there's just not really much of a creative process for me anymore, because it's very linear of like what happens in the same thing each time. And I want to be more expressive, because like that's what I love the most about filmmaking, is being creative. And I've seen, I think so, like, let's see, January is when I kind of made the decision that I want to do product videos. And I never did one before, but I saw all these really cool videos, let's see, what is it, Chris TV, and like the slow-mo videos that those guys do. I was like, man, these are so artistic, and then be so cool. And then like people just send you stuff, and then you can just make it. And I didn't really know much about it, so I started diving into that and like trying to find tutorials. But the problem is I couldn't find any tutorials on YouTube about product videography, like plenty on product photography, but I couldn't find any on product videography. So I started watching all these photography tutorials with like about flash and like how they would do it. And I'm like, okay, well, I can take that and then implement what I know with filmmaking, and then add that, you know, and kind of set up my lights similar to these. And I watched like 30 or 40 videos, kind of took all that stuff and started trying my own, because my whole philosophy is like, if you want people to hire you for something, you have to have the work to show it. Nobody's going to hire me for a product video if I've never done one before, unless it's like some good friend or something, right? And so I was like, okay, I'm going to start creating them. If that's what I want to do, start creating them. And so I made my first one so bad, I did not show it to anybody besides my girlfriend. She thought it was good, but I was like, no, this is bad. And so I took like 2 weeks off, and then from that, and then tried it again. And then at that time, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna make a tutorial about it because like I couldn't find any, and I was like, well, I don't want other people filmmakers to have to do what I just did and like have to dissect like 30 product photography videos like that don't have really, it's not essentially the same thing, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, I mean, I don't know everything, but at least like I'm putting something out there for people, and people seem to really like that. And then from there, I think I made like two more in between then, like just experiments and stuff like that. Like I made one with my TV. The Pringles video I did was actually not the first one that I did with my TV. I actually came up with that idea like a month earlier when I was doing something. I did it with LaCroix cans instead, but I didn't like how it turned out because the can of the LaCroix, it's like, I always think that they're really colorful, but then they're not actually as colorful as you think. And so it just didn't work because the background was just so much more like colorful, prettier than the cans themselves. And so then like Pringles was like kind of like the second stab at that, but it went the whiskey tutorial that I did, and then the next one that I put out was that Boom Chicka Pop one, and he saw that one. So it's still like relatively, I think I've done like 10 product videos now, and yeah, but I mean, like I've learned so much from it, you know.
And so they're also like, every single one's different, and like I said, it does match your style because you said you like it dark and stuff like that. Like I can see that. But it is a key point that you're saying. Like I found that myself, especially because you have your channels like Film Right and stuff like that, which was amazing when they was starting out, but now they've progressed so much. It's kind of broken away from being a young establishing filmmaker where it's still DSLRs and stuff like that. So it is very good that there's people like me, you, and Daniel, and all these people on different levels doing different things, trying to help the community. I think it is very good that we're bringing value to that, because I think looking at your stuff, you're like, oh, I don't even have the money for that. But then when you break it down, it's like it's all done in your bedroom or it's all done in your living room. And it just goes to show that it's all to do with innovating and using your creativity to its maximum potential and working with what you have.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's all like I'm trying to do is inspire people. I'm not saying go buy all the camera gear that I have, because like it took me a while to build up to that. Like I get a lot of people, like their biggest insult. First off, like I've never claimed that my techniques are cheap. They're much cheaper than actual commercials, you know, product commercials, because like what are their like budgets are ridiculous with using those robotic arms and stuff like that. But like it took me, like building my business, it took me a while to save up for those kind of lights and gear, but not saying that. I try to like just reiterate to people, like you don't need the exact same lights, you don't need the exact same camera to learn these techniques and to try them. Like you don't need fancy lights, as long as you have at least 3 lights of some sort and some sort of diffusion, you know, like you can at least try it, you can get comfortable, but you need to upgrade your gear with the demand of your services. I think a lot of people think that they're going to buy something really nice and all of a sudden like that's going to make them successful, and that's not the case whatsoever. Like upgrade your gear with your demand kind of thing, you know. Oh, I'm getting more and more demand, maybe I should, now it's time to upgrade to a nicer camera, you know. But yeah, so I mean, that's like my whole thing, is just inspiring people, like use what's around you. Like I have a TV, most people have a TV, use your TV if you can. Not all TVs work, obviously, mostly just LEDs, because otherwise it'll cause flickers. But yeah, like I mean, I'm just trying to, I don't have robotic arms just laying around my apartment, you know, so like I'm using a screwdriver and stuff like that, you know, whatever you can do, and really just think outside the box, because I think we look at these bigger productions and think it's like an untouchable, unattainable, reachable goal. But like I'm looking at that and I'm trying to see, like, can I take what they're doing? And obviously it's not going to be as amazing. Like there's a point, you know, there's a point where you can get, but I think we're getting pretty damn close. And that's, that's the aim. And especially for like what, like I don't know, 20th, 30th of the price. So I think the most I've spent, not including the gear and stuff like that, on one of these videos is actually probably my burger video. And now just buying all the ingredients for the burgers costs money. But I think I spent like $100 like on to make it. So, you know,
it's nothing really, is it? And it's just mind-boggling to think that because I didn't realize it was possible until I saw yours and Daniel Schiffer's stuff. It's only you two that I've really started following majorly, especially with the product stuff. I see it a bit on Instagram, but like you said, it's all robotic arms and all these different things. So for me to relate to something, I watch you two, and it is so interesting to just see how you do it, and the minimalism of it is that you, like you said, you don't need all the budget in the world at all to make these things, and it all comes down to coming up with new ideas and innovating. So the question I want to ask now is, I know we kind of touched on it a little bit, is how do you find new ways to innovate? And I know you kind of talked about it a little bit, but in order to look back on your previous video and think, right, well, I need to step up that. So how do you plan for things, basically?
Yeah, I don't know. At a point, I think I'm gonna hit a wall, because like it's not like I can get like try to get crazier and crazier, but at a point, like my last one has all been involved with water, and that was the biggest headache of my life, and probably like the hardest one. But I've learned so much with it. I haven't released it yet. I'm still working on it, but yeah, I don't know.
Before you talk, I just want to say the recent video you have done with the space. Oh my days, bro! That video is crazy. The one with the, is it the beer? Is it?
Oh yeah,
That
yeah.
is so innovative for like a low budget thing as well. Like that is crazy, bro. And that really does define. You don't really need a big set or anything like that. Sorry to put in, but
Oh
if
no,
anyone,
you're totally fine.
if
Yeah,
anyone's not
so
seen it, check out his stuff.
people ask me how I came up with that one, and I actually, so I was, so my whole philosophy with like getting work is free to fee. Do something for free, have
Yeah,
people see it, and then people, once they see that, and if it's good enough, then other companies will start offering you things, and it's worked for me like 90% of the time. Like
yeah,
that's how I built my company so fast, is by doing a lot of stuff for free. I know people will disagree with it, but I I've done so many amazing things and got paid for so many things because I did something for free first to get my foot in the door. And people
yeah,
will always want to work with somebody that they've already worked with and they like their stuff. They're not going to go hire somebody else to do it if they've worked with you and they've liked working with you, right?
yeah,
And so that's just kind of how that started. But so when I wanted to first start doing product videos, I reached out to all these companies, right? And that beer company, like I was like, hey, like I just like I didn't want to buy the beer. I was like, hey, like I'd love, and I also wanted like somebody to like validate that they'd share it if I posted it, kind of thing. Because
yeah.
like I made the Pringles one, and that has like a lot of views. Pringles has never responded back to me whatsoever. I'm like, hey guys, like, do you guys want? Like I was even giving it to him. I was like, hey, if you guys want it, here it is, kind of thing, and like nothing. And so, but like, I mean, that's what happens with big companies, and totally understand it. But so I reached out to that beer company and I said, hey, if you guys send me some beers, I have a kind of a concept that I want to do, because I already had an astronaut suit, and I saw one of their labels, which was a completely different label than all those. Apparently they're not doing that one anymore. So I was like, oh crap. But they're like, we'll still send you the beer. And then like a month goes by, and then they're like, hey, sending the beer now. Like still, I'm like, oh crap. Cause I was really busy and I didn't know what I was going to do anymore, because like the whole idea kind of shifted. And so, but I knew I needed to shoot it for them. And then I was super busy still. And then the night before, I was like, okay, I just don't want to do a regular video again. And I went to bed, like kind of trying to figure it out. I was like, I have no clue what I'm going to do. And I woke up in the morning, and I think it was like 5 o'clock in the morning. I was like, wait, what if I take tons of mirrors and just do something? I don't know where I came up with the idea, but I was like, let's just take tons of mirrors. And that wasn't even what I was envisioning. Like everything always changes. But so I got up, went to Home Depot at 6 a.m., bought 3 mirrors, came back, and I was like, let's just see if this is going to work, kind of thing. And yeah, I mean, kind of went from there. Like you just have to adjust things as you go. Like I always have random ideas floating through my head, and it's just kind of listening to them, I guess.
Yeah.
But then at the same time is understanding that you're going to have to re-strategize on set, because especially when you're trying to innovate something, never works out as planned. Like I don't know how many of my videos, like from the conception, like this new one that I'm working on, the conception was completely different. Like the general idea is there, but from now what it's morphed into, because also I see opportunities when I'm on set. I'm like, oh wait, I could actually do this, instead of this, or that doesn't work. Like, so for like my burger drop shot, I had a whole different idea, and we tried it, and we started building it on set because that was, the first time I was doing it.
Yeah.
Did not work whatsoever. And I was like, oh shit. Like, I'm like, how am I going to do this? And then quickly kind of re-strategized, and it's like, oh, instead of, because we're going to use strings, I had light stands, and they're like air pressured. So like if you put weight on them, they go really steadily slow. And so my whole plan was like, this was the ideal way, is that like we'd have string, like fishing line going across, and they'd all be on different levels, and then they'd be just slowly lowering. So it looked like it's slow motion, right? Because I'm not shooting at 1,000 frames per second, I'm shooting at 60. And then I'd slowly move my slider back so we could speed it up, and then like put it to regular speed and look like it's slow-mo. Okay. But that didn't work at all. And so then we had to re-strategize. And since we only had one opportunity to do it, because we were cutting holes in all the food to put them on a stick, and then we put a stick in the hole, I was like, okay, I'm just going to lock it off on the tripod. We're not going to, because like if we only have one shot, like I'm not going to do fancy camera movements. You got to just make sure, right? Yeah. And then so I had my girlfriend pull the stick down, and we had what we used is like little cardboard pieces and made hatches in them so they'd hold. But like once it hit the floor, obviously it would slide up, and then all the pieces would collapse onto each other. And it got jammed on one of them. And then so like if you watch like the raw video, it's like get. And I was like, oh crap. Well, we definitely didn't get it. But then when I took it into post, I was able to like kind of rework some magic around it, kind of thing. Yeah. But
that is so creative. Like the way you just even explained that was more than more than the average person thinks. But yeah, it's amazing really to think about it, because in order for someone to do that, take it back a few years ago, no one was doing this, and you know what I mean. So it is really amazing to see. Now, because you've started YouTube and it's growing very fastly as well, do you think that contributes in terms of innovating? So like you have the kind of the pressure. I say pressure because we don't really feel pressurized as creatives, but we're doing ourselves, I guess, but not by other people. So do you feel like there's a pressure in order to always feel like you have to innovate and do different things? Does YouTube contribute to that, you reckon?
Oh yeah, 100%, man. I mean, I always have a lot of pressure on myself, but I'm worried because I can't always, there's a point where like you're gonna have to, like, you can't always be coming up with new ideas, right? Or like mind-blowing things. But at the same time, I tell my girlfriend that I'm kind of worried, like, what if people start getting sick and tired of my stuff because I can't keep creating new things, right? And then I'm just making, I guess, films, like, because it's kind of like a niche, I guess. I don't even know. And she's like, Austen, you're being dumb. Like, out of anybody that I know, like, your mind never stops. Like, you'll keep coming up with stuff. And so hopefully, I don't know, but my fear is like I'm gonna eventually run out of ideas too. I mean, I still got a few, and new ones come here and there, but like,
I just love how you're already planning for the next thing.
I got 1, 2, 3. Like, I just write them on my whiteboard. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna try this, and then just write them down. It's just a name, and then I'm like, okay, like, there's a cool kind of concept. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, people like my tutorials, and I think eventually after a while, like, I don't know if I have to keep creating new things. I'm not a fortune teller at all. So.
I think it's just great that you're giving so much value to people. I think that's the main thing. I think that's why people do follow these pages, because like you said, you don't need the most expensive things, and for you to give all this information and value to people that are aspiring young filmmakers and telling them, look, you don't need all the money in the world to make these creative videos. I think that's enough value in itself, and I think it speaks for itself more than anything, because I don't think you can lose your following from that, because you're giving so much to them. So it'll be quite hard for them to say, all right, see you later. When you decide to take a break, or you decide to move away from product videos, because they're already emotionally attached to you.
Yeah, exactly.
I really feel that way, bro. And doing this podcast has obviously made me know a little bit more about you as well. So I'll always continue following you. And
thank you.
You're always one to you, at least.
That's all I need, man. So, my whole mindset, honestly, and this might sound super cliche, but when I first started out, I had no clue what I was doing, and there wasn't as many tutorials. It was more just guys making films, right? Like, really cool films, and you're like, how the hell did they do that, right? Yeah. And then some guys, like, they're like, I'm just talking about like YouTube iteration of filmmakers, and then other filmmakers would see that and then like break it down for you, but like they weren't making their own stuff. They were breaking down their shots and how they did it. And so like I was so confused. And like I said, I didn't know what ISO, aperture, and shutter was or anything like that. And so I would reach out to local filmmakers that I knew, and I'd write them like messages of like, hey, would there be any way that you could like teach me some stuff? Like I would love to work for you for free, blah, 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 like anything. And they just read my messages and never reply. And it made me feel like shit, first off, because I was like, and it wasn't like they were like hugely famous people or anything. They just worked, you know, they had a job doing it. And I was like, if I ever become, which I didn't, like, I wasn't being like, oh, I'm going to be great one day or something. But I was like, if I ever do.
It's good to have that mindset anyway, because you don't go into something half-assed. You go into it to be full on. So give yourself credit. Go on.
Yeah, exactly. And I said, if people ever want my advice on filmmaking, like if I ever become good enough that people think that they want like my opinion, I'm going to help out as many people as I can. So if people reach out to me, I'll try my best to respond to them. If it's genuine, unless it's very demanding, sometimes I get people like, hey, watch this. I'm like, no, like you could be like polite about it. Like I have my own life too, you know, kind of thing. But like, I have a lot of people that are genuine that like reach out to me or they ask questions, and I try to respond to as many people as I can. And same with my tutorials. I mean, I just try, I'm like, here, this is it. Like, this is what I did. Like, or I try to explain the best I can because my mind's running like a lot on set. So there's only so much like time that I can actually dedicate to the tutorial part of it, because I'm trying to create the best video that I can, right? Product video. And so I'm like, this is the setup. This is kind of why I did this. Good luck, kind of thing. You know, and if you have any questions, please reach out to me, kind of thing. But I don't know where I was going to go with that.
No, you see, it's that same thing that it's kind of funny that you said that, because it's same over here in the UK. It's kind of like you want to learn as much as possible and you want to get an insight to different things, and you message these creators and they kind of ignore you, and it does lower your self-esteem, and you're just like, hold on. I know it's a bit of a controversial question, but I always tell the truth. Like over here, it is very selfish, and a lot of filmmakers and videographers want to keep themselves to themselves. And to me, it's just like, I don't really understand that. How are you can learn by yourself. Like, it's a false assumption if I said you can't, but you learn and you vibe off people better in groups. And if you're in a team, or if you're willing to share ideas, like, I feel like that's the best way you can learn as a creative.
100%.
It's also great for your mental health as well. So I just wanted to ask a question. Is it like that over there in the US? Because over there, it's kind of like US is a massive thing with filmmaking. UK, it's fairly big in London, but where I'm from, which is up north, it's not really massive.
Well, I mean, when I first started out, I felt like those experiences were like that. But I mean, as somebody that is a freelancer, I mean, I still work for other people's production companies too. Like I have my own, but I built good relationships with people, and I'll work for them all the time. Like, even if I'm the person operating the camera and doing all, like, pretty much most of all of it, like, I don't care. Like, I mean, first off, money is money. B, you know, I don't mind working with other people. Like I don't see it. I mean, I know it is very competitive, but at the same time, I don't see it as very competitive, because just as much of there are filmmakers, there is demand for filmmaking as well. There's so many different avenues that you can go into in filmmaking. And people also always ask me, like, why do you tell, like, people get surprised, like, why do you tell exactly everything you do? Because, like, sometimes you see tutorials and it's kind of like beating around the bush kind of tutorials, right? But they don't really explain everything. They kind of just talk about what they did. And I'm like, it doesn't matter, because, I mean, yeah, you can, again, like, going back to that whole thing, you can copy what I do, but I'm going to be doing something else next, kind of thing as well, you know? Like, I don't mind sharing what I do with people, because, like, not just because if you can shoot exactly that, like, that's not going to make you a great filmmaker. You can learn from that. But, like, my whole goal is, like, for people to learn from what I do, and then, you know, make their own stuff, not shot for shot want to make the same thing. And some people do, I mean, but everybody learns differently. It just, like, I want to inspire people to be like, oh, if I put my lights like that, that's the look that I can get. But I'm going to do this and do something different. And I'm going to kind of change this a little bit, because people send me their stuff all the time, like using the TV and stuff. And I see really cool things that people do, or like solutions that they use to fix the problem. I saw a guy make, because I've had so many, like, backlash of people like, oh yeah, if I had a 70-inch screen TV, blah, 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 or whatever. And I'm like,
Come on.
there's two people in life. There's people that are going to make the excuses,
Yeah.
you know, and blame while like they're not successful. And then there's the people that are like, no matter what, they're going to be successful because they're not making any excuses, no matter what kind of cards they're handed to them. Right. And I saw this guy, he literally had an old, he used his computer screen. It was like this big and shot a whole video on it with it. And it looked perfectly fine. Like it wasn't, there was because people are like, well, I have to have a big TV. I'm like, no, just get closer to the TV. Use a tighter lens, you know, like
it's cause like you said, give out as much information as possible, but then it's down to them what they do with it, because end of the day, Gary Vee talks about it all the time. Gary Vee is always like, oh, why do you give so much business tips out there and everything, blah, blah. And he explains it perfectly clear. It's like, well, because only like 1% of people that are actually watching and listening are only going to go and do that thing. So it does make sense. And for people to make stupid excuses like, oh, you've only got a 70-inch TV, that is bonkers. That is, I don't understand it.
I mean, I understand if you don't have a TV. I get it. Like, obviously, the TV, using your TV as a backdrop, if you don't have a TV, is not going to work. I totally understand. But, I mean, like, yeah. I mean, I get a lot of things. Like, people, a lot of the time, people will say, why don't you just do CGI for it? I'm like, well, first off, I don't know how to do CGI. I'm a filmmaker, you know? Like, I'm like the whole Pringles thing, I'm like, isn't it more impressive that I did that in camera and that it looks like CGI than the opposite way? Because I'll look at like CGI things and then my whole mind is like, oh, how could I do that in camera? Is there a possible way of me like manipulating things? It's not the other way around where like, oh, like that should just be done in CGI. Yeah. I'm trying to take what's been done in CGI and then like reverse it, engineer it, because I just like doing in-camera things. I think it's cool, like if you can really break it down, like that whole Pringles thing. Like you could easily think that it was like CGI or whatever, or that it was fake. But like I think it makes it. There's something about having flaws in your shots that make it a little bit more realistic. Because CGI is too perfect, right?
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not discrediting CGI. CGI is awesome and like amazing things, but like I'm a filmmaker. I don't do any of that really. I mean, to an extent.
It's a total
right?
different category.
So, yeah, exactly.
I get that. I think that's the beauty of it. I think learning and adapting, and people are gonna come up with assumptions. And even going back to the point of the stuff that you were talking about, I've tried to come up with different things, and I've just done a JD advert, Jack Daniels advert, and I shot it, and I was happy with all the shots and stuff like that. And I had like I used my pillowcase as a backdrop first of all. So if anyone's got any excuses, just cut them off, because I've been using my pillowcase most of this time, so no one can say.
Yeah, you like you said, you upgrade to what you need. You don't need to buy it right away. First, 100%. Create stuff, and then if like there starts to become a demand for what you have, you know, then you start upgrading to like the proper equipment for it. But 100%. Like at least get experience. Don't pay a bunch of money for all this stuff and then be like, oh, I don't even like doing this at all. Because I mean, product is as glamorous as it seems. Creating that 20 seconds can take up to 2 to 3 days of just 20 seconds of clips. So like it gets very frustrating and tiring. Like I love it because the creative process, but like I'm a very ADD person too. So I don't really know why I like filmmaking, because it's a very patient process. Like when you're on like shoots, like how long it took me to do that beer thing took me like 6 hours to get my first shot. And I think I only got 2 shots in that first day, because the hardest thing was, it wasn't building the triangle itself. It was figuring out A, what I'm going to do with it, but B, like where my angle of my light's going to be, so they're not in the way, so they're actually properly lighting. I'm not going to just throw lights onto a product and be like, oh, that's good or whatever, you know, where they're not on the reflection of the TV, where they're at the right angles to make it look nice. The distance between the product itself, the TV, and the mirrors. And like, so like having to finesse all that, because I was like, I try not to make anything a gimmick, especially when I'm trying to do new things. I'm like, oh, here's just some mirrors, and it takes away from the product. Like, I really want to make sure that the product is still featured, because then in the end, the gimmick can be cool as hell, but if you're just relying solely on a gimmick for your video, it's just not gonna work. You know, people are gonna lose interest. You only go so far as that gimmick. Like, you have to make sure that the video itself can stand on its own. Otherwise, you know.
100%. And to add to that, I think there's some stuff, especially when you're experimenting as well, and it's not a paid job. some stuff are not always going to go all right. So that project, I shot it all well, blah, blah, but it didn't work. The backdrop didn't work. And I didn't fuck it up, but I was like, okay, well, I'm going to have to either reshoot or just adapt it in the edit. So I, frame for frame, keyed out the JD bottle and just added a different backdrop in. And I think the point is, don't make any excuses. And if you feel like you've done something and you really like the shots and whatnot, don't think it's game over. Go into the editing suite and just learn, like develop on your skills. That's the whole point. And don't ever say no.
Exactly, 100%. And I would have never even noticed that you masked out the Jack Daniels on that opening shot at all. So, yeah, so like, I mean, I mean, and you learn too. You learn from your mistakes. So you're like, I'm not going to do that next time on set. Like, that was a terrible idea. Or I see people, what they do is they'll make the video, they'll do the shots, they'll mess up on them, and then they're like, oh, that's fine, that's good. I'm like,
yeah.
If you're not getting paid for it, you have plenty of time in the world. Go back and reshoot some things, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know it sucks having to reset up everything, but now take what you did and try to make it better, because you're like, oh, that you have to be, if you want to be successful, you have to be overly critical on your own stuff.
100%.
Like, I mean, you should be your hardest critic, realistically. Yeah. I mean, be nice to you, accept the praise when you deserve it, but at the same time, you got to be your hardest critic. Like, if anytime anybody's like rips on any of my videos, because, like, you know, the more views you get on something, the more trolls you get. Like, they're saying like negative things, like, oh, that shot like this, and I'm like, trust me, I already know that. Like, I know that's messed up. Like, I've seen my video like 100,000 times, and I try to fix it, kind of thing. You know, like, you try to work things, but
it's true. It's an industry that you're gonna get a lot of criticism for at the end of the day, because people want to make themselves feel better about their work, when really and truly they should be looking at other people's work and be inspired. But those type of people that are in that bubble, I always see it as a journey, because I always feel like people are always on their own journey, and people that are criticizing at the moment might be in a bad headspace, or they might be that stage where you're comparing, because every creative goes through it, and I've been through it. I've compared myself through shit and whatnot, but you get past that stage. Some people don't, but most people do, especially good creators that want to help, want to learn and want to develop. So I think with everything you do, there's going to be hate, but don't take that hate personal, because I think like they're going through their own journey, especially the people that hate. So,
I mean, you never know what somebody's going through too with their day and stuff.
100%.
I mean, trust me, I get weird comments and mean comments and whatever, like, because I try, like, again, I said I try to respond to everybody, so I almost read everything. It gets a little overwhelming at times, but like, I mean, that's like 2% of the 98% of people that like love it. And what I love is that people message me and they're like, you've inspired me to become a filmmaker, like, I want to do this, or like, I didn't think I could do this anymore, and then I saw your stuff and I'm just blown away. And people message me and they said they've gotten jobs because of learning off my tutorials, and like, they're getting paid, you know? And I'm like, there you go. Like, I mean, that's the goal in the end. And I mean, I'm just super stoked, because like I said, I mean, as long as when I'm creating something, every time I create something, as long as I can inspire one person, doesn't matter about the views, comments, likes, whatever, or like notoriety you get on it. If I can inspire one person to go after their dreams as a filmmaker or goals, or learn something, you know, or feel like now they can go create and go after whatever that is, like, because I think that all of us filmmakers have that kind of itch inside of us. Like, there's something that's like, just do it, just do it, like annoying you, like poking you in the back of the head. Like, then I'm set. Like, it's all good. You know, I didn't make these tutorials to become like popular or whatever, or like get known. I mean, it's a happy byproduct of what I'm doing, you know, and I'm not gonna lie, I mean, it does help me get clients now that like I have more of a following, people see my stuff more, right? And so that's all awesome, but in the end, that wasn't my goal at all, you know. So
I love that. Backtracking a little bit, we're on the last few questions now, so I appreciate your time.
No worries, man.
Kind of backtracking about how you start a project, what preparation goes into it? Do you storyboard? Do you shot list? Do you write ideas down? Like, do you go to that depth, or do you kind of like write key bullet points and then go into a project that way?
Well, I don't do as I do is what I'm going to say before I say all this. So a lot of times, like, so for that beer one, as you can see, was kind of just winging a prayer kind of thing. Like, I mean, I have general ideas in my head,
Hmm.
and then I'll just do it and see how it, because like for me, things change so much on set. I don't storyboard things as often or as ever as I should.
Yeah,
Pro-
yeah.
yeah. I don't, first off, I can't draw. So like me trying to draw it, like I will. So when I do short films, I storyboard them out because that's, you know, there's things that I have to remember because I'm actually have like a story and narrative dialogue that has to, you know, so I have to remember to make sure I get those shots. Otherwise the thing won't make any sense. But for these product videos, most of them, the farthest I will go as of right now is like, I'll get inspiration by going on Pinterest and like, so if I'm doing a certain product, I'll like be like, I'll look up like product photography of that and be like, ooh, can I do that as a shot? You know, like I see like a photo of it, like, can I somehow create that in video? And then I'll get like styles. And then I'll also, if it's for a certain company, a really important thing to do is make sure if you're going to create something for a company that it is their brand style. I don't know how many times I've seen people create things and I'm like, that's definitely not that company's brand style. And not like if they are going to pick it up or not, but there's definitely no chance if you don't match their aesthetic. And so I'll go on people's Instagram and their websites and really understand like what their style is before like trying to create something for them, you know?
Yeah.
And that's really important too. But I mean, besides that, probably probably not too much more, you know, because
No, it's
yeah,
it's very interesting because the point I want to make is everyone works different, and I feel like the mainstream media kind of has this false image where you have to do a shot list, you have to do a location scout, you have to do storyboards, you have to do all these structured things. But really and truly, it's not always the key. It's what works best for you. Um, Maybe with a production team, it might help better the other people that are involved to understand what you're trying to go for. But as long as you're a good communicator, I think it's kind of irrelevant. And whatever works best for you and the team, then I feel like take away, don't like be judgmental on yourself and just take away the mainstream media structure and just work
yeah,
what's best for you. That's why I wanted to ask that question, because everyone does work differently, and I kind of work the same style. I don't really look on Pinterest and stuff like that, but I kind of have a vision in my head. I'll write it down in like a paragraph. I might storyboard it, depends how complicated it is, and that's about it. So it is very interesting to know how people work, and it's also a key point for people to understand you haven't got to do it the mainstream way. These are
yeah.
very different, whatever works best for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, just to clarify too, but like when it's paid clients, then I give them a shot list at the least,
Yeah,
storyboard most, because when it's somebody that's paid, then you know I'm not messing around with their thing. Like, oh, let's just see if this works,
yeah,
and because the thing is especially when you're doing it for somebody else, your thought, like you guys could be talking about the same exact thing or think you are, and completely two different ideas. So if you can
yeah.
get that as close as you can, you're going to avoid yourself a lot of headaches, you know? And
Sense.
so, so with that, I would say, you know, like if it's for a client, don't just wing it unless they really have tons of faith in you and say, do whatever. But most of the cases, even when they say do whatever, that's not the case whatsoever. It means do exactly what I want kind of thing, you know?
Yeah,
So
that's the point.
just to be very careful with that. I don't want people to be like, oh, I'm going to just shoot whatever for this client that just paid me. If somebody's paying you, definitely that should be part of your process is to do the proper pre-production. But when I'm doing experimental stuff, like I don't know how it's going to turn out. I wouldn't even know where to begin to storyboard.
Mhm.
like, oh, so this is going to maybe look like this. And that's another thing is like, it's hard for me to storyboard because I'm not going to find a lot of the things that I'm doing. Like I'm not going to find like a example of it already, you know,
Yeah, I
me
get.
drawing it just going to confuse like whoever else I'm showing, like my girlfriend, like, yeah, see, here it is. She'll be like, what is that? A bunch of like squiggly lines. I'm like, exactly, you know, because there's a lot of mechanical stuff that goes into the shots too that
Yeah,
I couldn't show you in a storyboard, you know, like, oh, there's gonna be a pulley here because that's a lot of the stuff I'm focusing on, or like we're gonna use wire here to move
yeah,
that this way, kind of thing. So yeah.
yeah. That's interesting. Good point as well. Very good point about bringing it up with paid clients. um, so what are your future goals in terms of, let's just say, 2-3 years? Where would you like to see yourself, or 5 years, let's just say?
I want to be making feature films in
Nice.
2 to 3 years. So I have quite a few short films and scripts that I'm working on. I'm trying to get better at it. It's a whole process, but like just like product videos and doing those and starting off, even though that I was doing filmmaking for a while, my first product video was god awful. I've been doing short films just to get better and better. And that's just the trick with anything. You just keep practicing. And eventually, like, I want to get my short films good enough. Hopefully people see them, you know, get into some film festivals, and from there be able to do a feature film, you know. And I would love to make feature films wherever that may land, because obviously I don't know if theaters are going to be around much longer, but at least, you know, I think in the end, because what I love about filmmaking the most is that it's so amazing. Why I love it is because I have an idea, and then to see that whole idea that started in my head, and that I can create it, and then it literally turns into something tangible, like, you know, I guess not tangible, but something that you could actually watch and that other people can see and that you can share with them. Like anything, right? In filmmaking, there's endless possibilities. That's what I love about it. But I think feature films and fiction, like fictional films, is like the cream of the crop for being able to do that, because there's so many factors that play into that, with your acting, with your story, with your locations, and like just so much more emotional power than like what I could actually draw with a product video. Yeah, I can make a lot of beautiful shots, and I love doing it, trust me, the creative process, but because it's so much harder to create a feature film, and so much more work that goes into it, and so much more struggle, that reward at the end is like so much more. Even when I create my short films, like, I've never been more stressed on like when shooting, like doing short films and stuff like that. But when I get said and done to the end, it's just so much more like rewarding, something about it. Like when you see that come to life and you're like, holy crap, I did this. No matter if it's good or bad. I'm not saying any of my short films are good at all, but you know, it's a process. Like, I don't expect anything to be good until like I do it enough times, kind of thing. So
100%. That's really good advice. Now, to end it, I know we've given out tons of advice and tons of key knowledge, but just kind of to summarize it up, or something that you haven't said already, what advice would you give to up-and-coming filmmakers that are wanting to kind of follow our footsteps, or just in general come into the media?
People that are currently doing filmmaking and are trying to break into being like full-time, what I would say is don't give up, because the people that give up are the ones that don't make it. And that just, as those people give up, then there's more and more opportunity for you to get jobs, because slowly people start dwindling off, you know, and giving up. And then that means it's like less and less as it, you know, you keep rising up. But not only that, keep sharpening your skills. Never think you know everything. You're always learning. Even the best of the best are always saying that they're learning. There's so much to learn in filmmaking, and you're never going to know it all. And don't ever think you do, because that's just a lost cause right there. But always keep learning. And just, if you don't have much experience with the camera and this is something you want to do, get the camera in your hands, even if you don't know anything. Obviously watch the tutorials on YouTube, but like I said, you need to go out there and shoot. I mean, just go out there, find something that you're passionate about, whether that be a product video or a documentary or anything. It doesn't matter. Don't have expectations. Just make it the best that you can with the limited knowledge that you have. Because I see a lot of people like, or ask me and they're like, I'm getting overwhelmed. I'm trying to do this for a friend, like this commercial. This is my first time ever shooting. I'm like, no, don't do that. Just go out and shoot. Go experiment with yourself before you start putting this pressure on yourself to like try to achieve something for somebody that they're expecting. Do it for yourself. Find that passion. And if it's not something that you're passionate about at the end of the day, like after you make that first one, I would say like find something else that you're passionate about, because I personally think it'd be very hard to be successful as a freelance or in filmmaking if you're not passionate about it. Like there'd be no way I would, because there's so many hard days. Like there's so many dark and hard days, probably a lot more than the positive days, I would say, you know, when it comes to being a creative. And unless you're passionate about it, you're not going to stick it out through those times, you know, because you have to be insane, which I think all of us are a little bit insane, right? So
yeah. Well, that's great, mate. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it so much coming on, and I wish you all the best.
Yeah, thank you, man. I really appreciate it, and thank you for having me. I love doing this. So yeah,
It's been a pleasure, bro.
Perfect.
Take it easy. Thank you so much.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Do you want me to send you email you the audio? I just did it on Lab. If you want that.
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah.
Do you want to send me your email?
Yeah, of course. I'll send it through Instagram. Is that okay?
Perfect. Thanks, man.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
See you later.
Bye-bye.